Hello, I am Edna Anderson with Transportation. I will do a step-by-step demonstration on Travel Tracker, starting with how to submit a trip ticket and going to when finance receives payment. I'll also go through the exports where your reports are, calendars, and support services. So let's begin. You'll go to the Winston-Salem Forsyth County homepage. Please use Chrome. Travel Tracker works a lot better with Chrome. So once you're on the Winston-Salem Forsyth County homepage, under the user options, you will find Travel Tracker link for the login page. Hopefully everyone has already created a login and activated it. If not, here where it says new to App Garden, please click there and register. Once you're logged in and you're on the main tab, up here are your tabs, and it says the main tab, you will hit submit a request. That's how you'll start your trip ticket. Also here you will see your trip request that you've already entered. So if you've entered requests already, you can look at your trips by going to your trip request. Now let's start with a trip ticket. You will come up to this screen and you can select if it's going to be an athletic trip or a field trip. So I will select athletic. This is for high school and middle schools for their athletic trips that they take. So the athletic director will be submitting these requests. They will select whatever the sport is that they're wanting to create the ticket for. They will put a date in here and time that they will be leaving the school, and then when they will return. Once this is entered, then it will expand to the trip, and if you're going to go overnight, you would say yes or no, and if you would go out of county, you would say yes or no, whichever it would apply. Here are red asterisks. These are things that has to be completed for the trip, for the ticket to be entered. Once you've selected that, you will come up with a comment box, and you can type in any comments that you would like to add to the ticket for the driver or the coach to be aware of. You would select your school. Then you would select the destination, and that would be wherever the game will take place. This will automatically calculate the miles. It's a round trip, and it'll already tell you how many miles that will be. As far as the funding source, please do not use that. This is totally for EC supported trips. They will put their coach name in here and a phone number, and if it's the same as the above for the emergency number and name, they would just click this for the same. You do need to put in, again, that the red asterisks are required, so you would need to put in how many males, females, students, and adults that would be going. They will ask you if they need a vehicle. You'll say yes. This is where you will select the activity bus. How many do you need? The number that you need to take your team. Do you need a lift, yes or no? And again, this is required. The lift is a required, so you need to put a yes or no. Again, you have fields to where you can put information. So once this is finished, the athletic director will submit this. Because it's an athletic trip, it will automatically approve to where then the athletic director can come in and assign the bus and the driver. If this is a field trip, then you would select the field trip category. Underneath that, you have several different types of field trips that you can select. It's a standard field trip, a CTE, district-wide event, an EC funding, the HOSA with the nursing, or the OCS, ROTC. You would select whichever one you would like. So if we say this is a standard field trip, then again you would select your date and your time. And let's put this at 9, and they will return at 1:30. Again, this is an activity bus request. So again, they would have to say if it's out of state or not. If it's out of state, then there's a second approval, or overnight there's a second approval. Steve Oates with the primary, elementary, and then Carol Montague Davis for the middle and high school. They would approve that. Again, you would put the school that is requesting for the field trip. And if this is an elementary school, they may want to go to, let's see, Dan Nicholas Park. Again, it will calculate the round trip miles. If it's not listed in our destination option, then you would just go back up and hit select destination. And you would put the address of the where you want to go into where it says destination not listed. Once you put the address in there, it will calculate. Then I would suggest that in this box here where it says special instructions, you put the name of the actual place you're going. Again, the funding source, that is only for EC to use. You have here where it says are funds payable to a third party. If you're going to take a check with you, if the teacher that wants to go on this field trip is going to take a check with them to pay the place that they're going, then they would say yes. And this would be sent then to the financial secretary to let them know that a third-party check would be needed. If they're going to pay it, if there's no cost, then they would say no, and you would not need that. Again, the teacher that is asking for this field trip, their name should be here, the phone number then under it, and for the emergency contacts, if you're going to do the same, if it's going to be the same person, you would simply check same as teacher. If not, then you could put a school administrator's name with an emergency contact. For the elementary, we're going to have to decide what grades or select what grades will be going on this trip. So we say this is for the third grade class. And so you also have to put an educational objective for the field trip. This is required that you have to put in you're studying how animals eat or whatever the educational objective is, and you will know that a lot better than me. Again, you have to put the adults and students, male and female. And here it comes down to where, will the students be away from school during lunch, yes or no? If you select yes, it'll send an email to the cafeteria manager to let them know that this class will not be eating on the day of the trip. It can also, you can put in if you want request lunches or not. Will you need a vehicle? Yes, we've done that. So again, the fields here, you can add any comment you would like. And it is saying that I am requesting this, and I've requested it on this date. Also, if, let's say you don't need a bus, but you're still having a field trip, you may be walking, you may be flying. So it has here where you have to select if it's an external transportation, yes or no. Down here, it'll have the teacher to indicate that yes, they did. This isn't a school board policy. They have adhere to that, and that this is their trip. And by selecting yes, that is their signature that they are responsible for this field trip. So then it would go in and you would hit submit. For our yellow buses, this is for a blue and white that we just did, but for our yellow buses, you would, instead of selecting activity bus, you would simply select yellow bus and go through and put what your needs are for the trip. Now for yellow bus requests, this will go to our corridor, and the corridor will assign the bus and will assign the driver. So once your field trip, your trip request has been entered, then it needs an approval. So your principal or their designee will go to them. It'll send them an email saying that there's a trip that's been submitted and needs their approval. So you would go into the trip ticket. The approver would go into the trip ticket. You can either log on to Travel Tracker, or you can simply go through the link that is emailed to you. So for the approver for this trip, they would scroll down, and it would be located here, location approval. So if you can do approve, and it'll go through. If you do deny, then it will ask you to put a comment in of why it's denied. And then you would hit submit. After it's been approved, it will go to the individual owner, the vehicle owner of the school, for them to assign a bus and a driver. So the vehicle owner would simply go in and open up the ticket. Again, it will send an email saying it's ready, or you can go into Travel Tracker website to do this. Okay, this is one for Walkertown Middle. So the trip has been completed, it's been approved. So here where it would be reserved vehicles. This is where if at a middle school or a high school you're going to use your own vehicles, you would simply go to display available vehicles, and it will list your vehicles that's available. Now this is something new. Here, any school can look to see if a vehicle is available. They cannot assign the vehicle, but they can look to see if it's available. Elementary school, a middle school, or high school, if the buses are not at, wherever they're located, it will show the availability of the buses. So then, if it's at elementary school, they can call and say, Atkins, I see that bus 8045 is available. We would like to use it for our field trip. Again, the only ones that can assign buses are the individuals where the buses are located at their school. So any elementary that has buses at their school, they can assign those to their field trips or to other field trips. High schools can do the same thing. If you need a bus and another bus and it's not your bus, then you would come down to location used to reserve vehicle. If you call up and ask if West Forsyth has a bus available and they say yes, we have, then you would simply come down here and select West Forsyth High School. Once you do that, it will go to the individual owner, the one that assigns the bus to the trip ticket, and they would assign that bus that they have said you could use for your field trip. Every school is responsible for getting their drivers for activity trips. So even elementary schools would go to find available driver and select the driver that has agreed. In advance, you've talked to that driver and they have agreed to drive this trip for you. So elementary, middle, and high can assign drivers for trips. And to do that, you would just simply click on the star and then you would do reserve select driver. So this is the process of assigning buses and drivers. Once the trip is over, then it will go to the school finance secretary. They would click on school finance. The school finance secretary can enter mileage and driver's time. Also, the individual owner that assigns the bus and the driver at the school can do the same. So the school finance secretary would go to vehicle mileage not entered. And this is where they can come in and enter miles and driver's time. To do that, they would go here on the trip ticket number. They would see that this is the correct trip that they want to look at and put in the hours. So here where it says driver's hours, they would put in those hours. And then for mileage, the beginning odometer readings and ending, they would put here for the total miles that the trip occurred. You can also put, whenever a ticket is entered, it will estimate the miles, so it will put the estimated miles there, but you need to put the beginning and ending odometer readings and hit compute, and it will calculate the cost per mile. If the bus is returned in poor condition, then you can put a cost there for the cleanup. They are supposed to return all buses clean and fueled. So once this has been entered, then it will come to transportation to be approved. So in transportation, we would go and select the school, and we would select the month. And we would look to see, okay, Bolton Elementary, they have their driver in there. Currently, for driver's pay, there's the financial secretaries are still sending the PR-16 to the finance department for payment of drivers, but here's the driver's name, and then you see that the cost for the mileage is there. So this one is ready for transportation to approve, and we would approve it. It says pending change. We would confirm the change, and we would say okay. Once we do that, now Bolton, it will go back to Bolton's financial secretary. And so it says pending payment. So once this, now the financial secretary will be able to go through, and if you put it in trip ticket order, then if there's more than one bus that goes on a trip, they will be in order. They'll have the same trip number. Like here is one for 365 trip number, and there's two invoices for it because of the drivers. They have two different drivers. So the schools would then, the financial secretary would then go and hit sent and sent, and when they select that, it will calculate how much money they're going to be sending to the finance department. So once they calculate what they want to send, they'll get their check ready, and you can put your check number there on this, and you will also just print out the ones that you have selected to send. Once the finance department receives a payment from a school, it says this is what they'll see. They'll see the ones that come in. Here's one from West High School, and they have sent the money. So the finance department would go in here and look. They would deposit the money into the account, and then it will come up with a $sign where it says paid, this right here, and that will show that the school that they have, the finance department has received the payment and it's in their account. So this is the process for a trip ticket. Now, when I said that the cafeteria managers would receive an email saying that this trip is occurring during lunch. Do they need lunch? They're going to be away. So here's where the cafeteria manager would go to look under the support services, and they could see all of their trips that will be away from school. Then here is the calendar, the district calendar. One neat thing about Travel Tracker, you can see all of the trips that are occurring. If you hover over one, it will give you information about the trip. This will have the year, the month you can look at. If you can change, and you can go just to a trip calendar. And with the trip calendar, it will show trips. It will also let you select whatever school you would like to look at. You can see all types of trips, whether it's a field trip or if it's an athletic trip. So here's one from Brunson, and if you hover over it, it will tell you about that trip. It will tell you the location where the buses will be, that's furnishing the buses, and it will tell you the time and date. So this is something that everyone can access. If you also are looking to see if a driver is available, you have a favorite driver, or you want to see if you can find one for a trip, then you can look to see, and it will tell you what driver is driving for the trip. So this is just something for you to come in and look at to see. I think it's very good. It helps you to see also the volume of trips that Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools take, whether it's athletic, field trips, also the ROTC, the CTE, all school-based curriculum trips. So then our exports is where you can pull reports from. So here I suggest that you go in and you look at some information or data that you would like to pull from. You can pull the number of trips, and once you select what you would like to see, you just then export it to Excel, and it will pull it into an Excel spreadsheet, and you can have that data. So I hope that you will just go through and just use this to get data to support your field trips. One thing I would like to say, I want to talk a little bit about a field trip, and I didn't cover the reoccurring trips. And it says here, and I'm sorry that I'm going back to this, but it's important for tutoring so that you don't have to enter one for each day, a tutoring trip or a OCS trip. You can simply, when you're putting in your trip request, you can go to identical trips. And then all you would do is it would pull up a calendar, and you would select what days this trip will take. Once you put all of your dates, you can go to the end of the school. If it's a trip for Monday through Friday, you can select Monday through Friday. If it's only on a Tuesday and a Thursday, you would just select a Tuesday and a Thursday for each day that you would like to create the trip for. And then you would put accept, and it would go through. One thing too about when you're doing an athletic trip, if you will, once you get your first athletic trip for a certain, like for volleyball, then you can go down to a duplicate trip ticket, create a duplicate, and then you can just change the date and location. You won't have to go back through the whole trip to fill out everything. And then also, if it's a rescheduled trip, if it's an athletic and it's been rescheduled, you would simply click on the reschedule trip, and you would be able to reschedule your athletic trip. But also, if it's a weather, if you're going somewhere that's outside and the weather's not, it's raining or something, and it's on a field trip, then you can also reschedule your trip there. I'd like to thank everybody for all of their work. Do it in all that you're doing in Travel Tracker. We've got over 4,000 trip requests, and I think that tells how much traveling, whether it's athletics or field trips or school-based curriculum trips, that Winston-Salem Forsyth County travels. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Again, this is Edna Anderson. We're working hard to support you in Travel Tracker.